Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play, where we've just finished playing Clans of Caledonia.
That was synchronized salute.
That was, I liked
that?
it, yes.
Awesome. It's almost like we rehearsed that for hours beforehand. We didn't do that.
That was brilliant.
Well,
oh, hey Michael, you would have won the tiebreak.
Would I?
Yeah, because she would have lost the tiebreak.
Well,
no, I would have lost the tiebreak.
My 13 extra points, but well, in that case, I guess I won.
No, in that case, I win.
All that matters is having money out at the end.
I think actually the winner should be the one with the most whiskey at the end.
I feel that,
yeah. Clearly me.
Just went one. So Michael came second then. Oh. Just to reiterate, Mike, this Mike came in first with 144 points. I was second, 132. And Michael was third with 119. So 13 between second and third, and 12 between first and second. So only 25 between first and last.
It's not much.
Yeah, it's not actually, when you're talking about 100 and something points, it's not a whole lot.
And considering, I mean, you guys both look how by the end of the game, I was producing. Well, I was producing one thing, like one milk / one.
Look at your thing compared to this.
Tiny.
And I came in second with that, and I also have the fewest upgrades. You guys are maxed out pretty much.
No, do you know what I think? Actually, I think I underestimated the importance of these. Definitely. And I definitely focused on these a lot.
On the other way around, I underestimated those. Because think about it, if I got almost no points throughout the whole game for those. If I just managed to get a few for those, if I managed to get 13 for those, I may have won.
Yeah.
And I would have won if I managed to do exactly this whilst also... So, I mean, which implies that, I mean, such a close second with so little production, it implies that you can have a strategy like this and win.
Yeah, which is nice. Great because it means it's sort of diverse.
It's still open. It's quite.
Yeah, you can basically win by producing your own stuff and being self-sufficient, or you can win by focusing on economy manipulation, which is what I suppose what I was doing. I wasn't really. Maybe that's what I should have done. I was kind of just spending whatever it cost. Maybe I should have been paying more attention to trying to manipulate this better to make my purchases more cost efficient. But still. It's a big plus that you can win with different strategies.
It's I agree. I definitely feel that I lost a lot of my points, particularly with the scoring, because after the second round, I didn't really pick up any more of these.
They got so expensive, didn't they?
But they did. But I didn't.
I spent £15 on one that I never even used. I was so annoyed when I couldn't use that. I was like,
you got an extra 2 points actually.
Yeah, I would have got an extra 2 points. And I had a plan to do it, and then it would have got me even more points. God, I didn't win hard enough, you guys.
It was far too competitive for your liking.
Yeah, this is far too close. I want to win by 1,000,000 points. Or go home. Oh, wait, I am home. Everybody get out.
Good. So yeah, I think that these are quite pivotal. To whether you come first, second, or third.
But I mean, you were sitting on tons of money and just didn't have one for ages.
Indeed, because what I was doing, I was concentrating more on building these men. And what I was doing was then trying to build the money so I could put my settlements out. Which is fine, but I think you need to combine that with these at the same time.
Yeah, you went too hard in one direction.
Yeah, well, I think like many of these sort of action, sort of menu, sort of economic Euro games, you can't really hyper-focus on any one thing because all the systems are so integrated.
Which is always something that disappoints me. I always wish you could win, you could be competitive by just going all into one system.
Just sort of uber specializing.
Yeah, I wish that was like equally viable. Like it wasn't. I'm not saying I'd have to win. I'm saying I wish that and a mixed bag strategy could both be competitive and both potentially win. But never seems to be the case, as you said.
But I feel like in this game, actually, I'd be interested to discover if maybe you could be more specialist. Because I feel like, actually, if you were focusing really hard maybe on just building these things, by the end of the game, you had so many resources just saved up. You could just smash it with all these resources at the end of the game and not even worry about the imports and exports.
Yeah.
I think what was very good for you, Chris, was your ability of having 2 at a time.
Yeah, which I only really used. I used at the start to get 2 I wanted, and I used quite well towards the end. So I'd say on 2 occasions. I think I didn't use it efficiently throughout. And
yeah.
Again, that's another. This is why I truly think that this strategy can win, because I feel I messed up hugely in 2 different areas, not utilising this properly and not focusing on those at all. Yeah, but it was, like I said, it was extremely helpful at the same time.
Yeah.
It also meant that if you kind of take one, this did happen to me. If you take one which you kind of, I at the start I took one that was a long term goal. It was like I put the 4 Gs was to put on the long finger. I'm going to get this eventually, and it's going to get me 2 free upgrades. That'd be really helpful. And then I also on the first turn I did two in the very first turn round. Whilst able to be able to keep the long term one up there as well. So yeah, I mean, I think I did use it quite well. I think that you used yours really well as well.
And that ability that you've got really shines when you get down here as well, and you can sort of recuperate.
Yeah, you can get 2
Although
one price.
The 2 for one I got at the end, I knew for a fact I couldn't do the second one. I just bought it to potentially deny one of you guys.
Well, I only bought one. I bought one right at the end because I thought I could do it, and then I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And that was deeply upsetting. I don't know why I took one with cheese on it when I hadn't built a single dairy.
Cheese was pretty expensive too.
Well, it was very stupid. Do you know what I was thinking? It's so dumb. It had a mutton on it, and it was the only one with a mutton requirement. And I was thinking, if I kill this sheep, I'll get an extra settlement at the end of the game.
But you wouldn't.
Well, I wouldn't even.
No, I wouldn't have given you extra at all.
I was just tired, man.
I do. Speaking of the prices, I like this rudimentary economic system. Economic system.
I like that it's not so integral that you need to play it in order to do well.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of subtle enough that it can sort of mess up your long-term planning.
Yeah, because I didn't really utilise that either.
It adds another layer to I mean, like, after all, every individual mechanism is simple and straightforward. It just adds that another layer to it. To what otherwise could be, if you peel back enough of these seemingly insignificant layers, it would just be a really simple, boring, dull affair.
It forces you to be a bit more like sort of reactionary.
At the time when you sold the whiskey bar, I think just because it was super helpful, just because
got you
get
the
so much
funds.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
Just something else to keep an eye on, to keep invested in. I mean, for me, I mean, overall, I think it's a really nice game. I don't think it's one I'd buy. I don't see myself kind of looking at my shelf and thinking, "Oh, we'll play Clans of Caledonia today." But if I was at your house, Michael, and you said, "What are we gonna play today?" and you pulled it off your shelf, I'd be like, "Yeah, definitely play it," because I don't have it myself. You know what I mean? I'd be happy to play it at a friend's house, but I probably wouldn't stick it in my own collection. That's probably.
Is there anything in your collection that would prevent you from
Like doubling up? You mean?
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
So it doesn't fill a niche exactly that's missing in your collection. I
don't think so.
It just simply does not
warrant
your attention.
I wouldn't say it was more on my attention. And as I said, I would happily play. I would happily play it if prompted, but I would never prompt it. I don't think, because there's so many other games I'd rather suggest. If you said to me, "What do you want to play?" Oh, actually, that's not true. If someone says to me, "What do you want to play?" I go, "I don't know. What do you want to play?"
I'm just happy to play whatever.
But in my head, I'll be thinking, "Yeah, I'm happy to play whatever." Okay, do you want to play Clans of Caledonia? No. Do you want to play this? No. Do you want to play that? No.
Well, I think I would buy it.
You did.
No, that's true. But I would buy it if I didn't buy it. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Because I like how I know there's a lot of thinking about it, and it can lead to a lot of like.
There wasn't that much AP.
I actually thought of the sort of all of the games that that are here in this flat that are comparable, which is Gaia Project and Terra Mystica and this. I actually think this one is the least prone to sort of super optimal planning.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it's that complicated. I like how there's a lot of options and a lot of things to pick from, but there's not too taxing in the fact that it would totally mind boggle me into like, I have no idea what on earth I want to do. Yeah, because you can because I think the play action, although it seems quite long, when you're looking through the different phases and the 8 different actions that you can do in phase part 2, it doesn't seem that complicated.
I'll tell you what we didn't really play into at all was the neighbouring bonus. Now, I wonder if that's just because of the way we played.
I did that twice.
You did it once, I think.
I did it potentially once, but not really. But I think it's because I was a bit foolish and I did my clans miles away from each other. And everybody
still
else
got second place. Exactly. I did it to great effect once. Like it was actually like really necessary thing for play. I think I used it to buy three barrels of whiskey or something like that. I definitely bought 3 of something, which in order to fill the contract.
Yeah. It was cheese you bought. It was that 4 cheese thing, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Whereas I felt kind of like it was so sort of impossible to plan around it that it kind of left me feeling a bit like I wasn't sure it was totally viable.
You gotta be opportunistic again. A bit like
it's sort of exactly, so it feeds into that sort of opportunistic element, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, even if it feels a little sort of like I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. It's a sort of like icing on the cake rather than anything more substantial.
Yeah, sure.
It's sort of like, oh wait, I could do that. But then again, yeah, like I said, I wonder if it's not just because I wonder if we'd all gone next to each other, if we wouldn't have seen like all this sort of like interplay with the neighboring thing and also interplay with competing for like the cheap good spots.
Yeah.
You know, because if you look, we've all kind of, with the exception actually of you, Chris, Michael, you and I have both just kind of like spread out into all the sort of the optimal spots because we're not competing for anything.
I can't believe how little I put on the board.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, mad.
Little blue.
I don't know how you had so much stuff. Or how you were able to get so many contracts with so few pieces.
I bought
because it's bought. Because
most
it
of the
was
stuff I used, man, I'm just really good, man. It's just, you know.
Yeah,
I was able to utilize the buying and the selling.
I've never played Terra Mystica or Gaia Project. Gaia Project doesn't appeal to me thematically. Terra Mystica has been something I've wanted to play for ages, and I'm optimistic that once I play it, I'll want to buy it. Mm-hmm. I'm optimistic, and that it would fill this niche over Clans. But even if I played it and I thought, oh, Clans is actually better, I still don't think I'd get it because it's like I say, it's just a game I will say yes to, but not a game I'll suggest, and therefore I don't see the need to own it. Mm-hmm.
Is it just not deep enough to excite you?
No, not at all. I play anything from super heavy to super light games.
Yeah, but you can feel differently about, like, what I mean is, like, for example, if I'm sitting down to play a light game, I might want to get out something that's sort of brainless, like Tales of the Arabian Nights, or I might want to get out something that's very, like, sort of social deduction-y. Whereas if I'm sitting down to, like, a Euro game, I might say, well, actually, if I'm playing a Euro, I want something that's really heavy.
No, I think that's... No, because I like Euro games full stop, and I don't always want to sit down and play Mage Knight. I've never played Mage Knight, but it was just an example of a super heavy Euro. So no, it's not the weight at all. I think it's actually got. I think its weight is really quite well finely tuned, quite well balanced. I think they found a good. I believe Terra Mystica is quite a bit heavier than this.
Yeah. The thing is, there's more opportunity in Terra Mystica and also Gaia Project to optimize your turns and your strategies. Right. So you can spend a lot longer sort of sitting in silence, staring at the board, planning stuff, and there's sort of less opportunity for other players to fuck you up. There is more sort of denials. You can take tiles that other players might want, or you can also take spots. There's less, I think, taking of spots in this. But again, that might just be the way we deployed. Whereas, so I think, yeah, this is, for whatever reason, maybe because there's just like one fewer mechanic, or maybe just the way they interwork is slightly less critical. For whatever reason, I thought this one felt like it was just sort of less, sort of intensely cerebral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, exactly. The impression I've been given.
But I wouldn't necessarily describe. I mean, Trickerion is much worse than either Terra Mystica or Gaia Project.
Much worse, heavier, like.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of sort of like cerebral and thinking and planning and optimizing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Trickerion is probably the worst of the bunch that I've played
ever. Heaviest game you've ever played?
Oh, no. I mean, just of these sort of Euro worker placement type stuff. Mage Knight, maybe. I guess, I don't know. I don't think Mage Knight really... I mean, Mage Knight used to be really heavy, and I haven't played it for quite some time, so I don't know if it's like sort of dated in terms of heaviness, because board games have got so much more complex now.
True.
How old is that?
Mage Knight, it must be like 2005 or something.
Okay.
Is it 2009?
I don't know. I've only heard about it a few years back.
I don't think it's... I feel like it's quite old. But all things blur into one in my mind. Spirit Island's quite heavy.
Okay.
Reasonably heavy. It's not too bad, though. I understand. I haven't actually had a chance to open Gloomhaven yet.
Is that meant to be very heavy? I thought it was just kind of...
I don't know. Ben says it's very heavy.
Okay. He likes his heavy games.
But,
yeah, I think he said...
I mean, but it's sort of different kinds of heaviness as well.
Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, I would call this light to medium.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this heavy.
Yeah, I would call this sort of...
Like, it's the upper end of light. It's like it's between light and medium, but
do you
pressing
think
towards
between...
medium.
I would have said
Towards
between
medium.
sort of medium and heavy for this.
No, I said light to medium, but pressing towards the medium. Like near it. Like,
Yeah, because there's lots of options to pick, but it's not too complicated.
You don't think so, really? I feel like there's a lot of sort of bits and pieces going on.
There's lots of things to remember, but I don't think it's complicated.
I suppose, yeah, there's lots going on, but when I consider heavy to refer to how the barrier to entry, kind of how difficult it is to comprehend, to wrap your head around. Not, I mean, you could have a game with a plethora of options, but it's still inherently very simple.
Yeah,
and I call that a light game. Then that's just how I think. Maybe that's not how the community thinks about it, but that's how I think about it.
I mean, I think if I was trying to explain this though to some of my very casual board gaming friends, they would find this quite challenging to sort of get their head around. I mean, I think what it does in terms of its components, which is to be completely language independent, is great for international board gamers and hobbyists, but it does make it a bit more challenging because if you're not used to a lot of iconography and symbolism, which like us hobby board gamers are, it can be quite daunting.
Then maybe I put it then. That's a fair point. Maybe you're right. Maybe more casual gamers would find it, would struggle with it. Maybe as you put it right at medium then.
Yeah, I would put it in medium in terms of sort of weight and accessibility. But I think if you are a hobby board gamer and you're like, you're playing Terra Mystica every weekend, or you've got Scythe, then this is not.
Scythe's not heavy. Scythe's pretty streamlined.
What is heavy, Chris?
I guess it's still, that's the problem. I suppose but I understood Scythe the first time I played it. Like, I understood it properly the first time I played it.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few games that I can't grok pretty quickly.
I've watched a Let's Play of Mage Knight and I have no concept of how it works.
Well, Mage Knight, the thing about Mage Knight, and this is actually, I think, probably to its detriment, in the rulebook it reads, have another player basically play like sort of the part of the evil player on your turn, wherein what they're doing as the evil player is just remembering all the shit you've got to remember, because there's so much to remember and track that you can't really do it all yourself. I mean, it's not as bad as I think people make out, but at the same time, it's a chore. It's not like a sort of it's not an interesting challenge. It's a chore to remember all the rules and bits and pieces that are going on.
If it's tough
so that you
to
can
remember
focus
all
on
the
the
rules,
strategy.
It's definitely heavy. I mean, Dracarion I've played several times, and there are some rules that I still slip my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely therefore in my mind heavy. I mean, Scythe, you have 4 things you can do each turn. You do one of 4 things, and then in the mid game, you have 2 things you do each turn, but it's still 4 choices. It's like I don't see how that can be considered complex. Combat is just picking a card. It's like there's nothing. I mean, I also happen to absolutely hate Scythe.
You and Ben both hate Scythe
because we both played it. Myself, Deborah, and Ben played it with some randomer in a club, and then we played it again. Me, Ben, and Jack. And I still hate it. I gave it 2 goes. One with casual gamers and Ben, and the second time with hobbyist gamers, and it's so horrible. But we're not here to talk about side.
No, we're absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
We keep getting derailed
by
trying to find out where this fits into the hobby, this game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I've got sort of like a gaming group that I play with, and like the heaviest thing they play is like one of the more fancy versions of Carcassonne.
Yeah, okay, sure. To them, this is going to be super.
I guess in the end, what we resolved was it's about the context of your group.
It is, though, isn't it? You know, I mean,
it's all about
Michael,
your
you
group,
consider yourself a casual gamer, don't you?
Very much so.
I mean,
Very much so.
So you can give us the casual perspective.
So, well, maybe because I've had a bit more of exposure to this kind of game.
Because I keep forcing him to come back and play with me on the channel.
Because I've played things like Caverna with you.
Yep, yeah.
That's much heavier than this, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Well, yes and no.
There's a lot more weight of choice in Caverna.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's a lot more. Why I think this is Caverna's maybe a bit heavier is because there's so much different choices that you can pick. Whereas there's this.
Classic Rosenberg.
Yeah. and that's one of the things like that they changed between Caverna and Agricola. In Agricola, you start with like some
10 choices and
some bits and pieces, and then you can kind of work towards that. And in the same way, this game is like, oh, you've got milk that gets you loads of money, and you can put loads of people out on the board really quickly, and you can have focus on these import things. And it's like, here's a strategy you should sort of think about and a direction to go in.
Yeah.
Whereas Caverna's like, here's a million choices. There's nothing to guide you. Figure it out.
Sandbox.
Yeah.
I'm
like, ugh. So that can be quite daunting.
But, do you want to become the Donkey King of the Dwarven Caves? You can do that.
But I think you're right. I think lack of direction, a sandbox style game is inherently heavier because you have far more responsibility to make some early choices.
That's true, and I think it depends a lot as well on what kind of gamer you are. Like someone like me or Ben, who are quite perfectionist and really get a lot of enjoyment out of optimizing everything, can get quite paralytic about stuff like Caverna and to a degree Gaia Project and Terra Mystica, because there's that real opportunity to optimize, but also there's a sort of a lack of guidance. And actually, Terra Mystica and Gaia, again, are better for it because you've got a race, and the race's abilities are hugely impactful on the game. Like if you watched Gaia Project, Alex lost, and he lost by, I think, a meaningful margin because he didn't focus on his... He didn't build his planetary institute nearly fast enough, and he didn't focus on his race's ability or sort of use that to his real benefit. Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say, sorry, just going back to the previous point is,
about Caverna, yeah.
Well, not about Caverna, sorry, but where I was saying that this is lighter than Caverna. A lot of my friends who I would play games with would not. I won't say won't enjoy this because they might once they got their head around it, but they would just look at this and no, too complicated. Where's something where I can just roll a dice and move 6.
But presumably they'd also say that about Dominion, or or I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I think Dominion.
Picking a random game I saw over there.
I think Dominion, especially I don't know if you've played with some of the expansions.
I've never played Dominion. I just know it's the basic deck builder.
Yeah, but I mean, once you introduce like the Empire's expansion and the Adventures expansion, it can get really heavy. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many more mechanics. I mean, and also I think I think I would put Dominion as sort of the basic set. I would say somewhere between light and medium weight for sure, because it's a lot of cards to learn, and for me that adds quite a lot of weight.
Okay. If
you have to learn a set of cards.
Yeah, it takes a few plays to understand the game fully. Yeah, I get
and now in those sets, because I have basically all of Dominion, that's thousands of cards or whatever that you've got to learn.
But we didn't, apart from really strange, very very particular things, one of which wasn't even in the rulebook. It was so particular about the free action and whether this counts as a turn you can pass after free action. We had no real rules queries.
No, that's true.
You taught us the rules before we started filming. It didn't take that long, and we knew we just no problem.
Well, I might talk about this more in my sort of this versus the other two video, but I do think this is the lightest of the bunch for sure.
Ha! You admitted it.
Well, there's just sort of this. What there is there's slightly fewer under the surface mechanics. Like this whole thing where you build all these buildings in a rack and then you get a free bonus where you get to choose one of these.
Yeah.
Like it feels like Gaia and Terra Mystica have a lot more of that kind of thing going on in the background.
Really,
this is quite simplistic. But it feels like they have a bit more sort of that going on.
I really enjoy like I said I did actually enjoy the game quite a lot, and I really enjoy how small a footprint it makes on the table. And I think that's really, really nice to get such a I'm going to contradict myself here, but to get a relatively nice deep experience out of a relatively small box. I think that's really nice. Yeah. I think it looks pretty nice too. Same artist you told me as Isle of Skye.
That's right. Yeah,
that was one of the things that drew me to it in the first place. Because I really like Isle of Skye.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's a nice follow up artistically, so to speak. And I like all the the components are really nice. All these whiskey barrels and wheat and milk, they're all lovely. And I've always loved the same as Terra Mystica. I love the whole you taking stuff off your player board. And then you produce it, the way
to reveal the income.
The revealing of the income image is something that's very pleasing. Yeah. So, like aesthetically, footprint wise, and mechanically, I think it's really, really lovely. Very
I like
sound.
that there's
solid 7 out of 10.
So I like that there's 16 possible board configurations. That's really good.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
And then the docks. There's a whole bunch of docks that are randomized.
I didn't use those at all.
I like randomized victory conditions. Those are great.
That's actually excellent. That's something. That's a good. I'm glad you mentioned that, because obviously only having played it once, that's not something we can really appreciate. But like Isle of Skye, it's my favourite thing about Isle of Skye. So I think that would be as a really, really massive bonus.
The randomised, everything's quite randomised actually, because the clan that you get is potentially randomised.
Do we know how many clans there are? It's something like
there's like
10 or
8
something.
or 9.
Oh wow, there's quite a lot of replayability then.
And even you're starting like the
starting goods that
goods
are randomised.
Those are
as
less
well.
relevant, I think, because they're only for the opening contract, really.
Yeah, but they they help define what you might go for at the start of the game. And
sure.
I mean, I like that the starting goods are assigned to a clan, and then you can choose the clans in order based on whether you're going first or last.
The scoring of the cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane is nice as well, with the
with the most
scarcity.
common being the
I kind of wish, I felt that mechanic was slightly underutilized. I kind of wish there was more. I don't know. I just kind of wish there was another way to manipulate which one will end up being the most valuable, other than just getting it, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. That the more you get of it, the less valuable potentially you're making. All you're really doing is trying to keep an eye on what other people are getting and trying to have more than them, but also keep me. Ideally, you want to have the most of everything, and you want them all to be super close to each other. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's.
See, I thought that this was one of the most interesting things in the game to me. This dock that allows you to manipulate the financial market by 3 spaces up or down. And I was trying to think of a way to use that really cleverly to make a ton of money. And I wish that there was like sort of an action you could take, maybe by spending goods, like trade in 2 milk or something to move these up and down and move these up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a way to sort of manipulate these things outside of simply buying the contracts and the purchasing and selling of goods.
Yes. The 2 economic aspects were under kind of burned.
It reminds me of, I'm trying to think of examples, and for some reason the one in my head is Maharaja, which is a sort of a worker placement game, and there's a Maharaja wandering around India, and you're building cities, and when he goes to the city, he'll score it, and so you're trying to build enough stuff in the city to get the most points when he scores it. Once he's been and he goes, it takes forever for him to come back. And he might not come back before the game ends. And the order in which he goes to the cities can be manipulated by player actions. And I love that sort of mechanic. And I really felt like it would have been great to sort of be able to manipulate this stuff, like to wait right till the end and then be like, oh, Chris, you've been buying all this tobacco or whatever, and you've been sort of working to get it down to the rarest while still buying it, and I'm going to start spending resources to fuck you up.
Yeah, it's like you're buying in loads of tobacco and then making artificial scarcity.
Yeah,
like video game console manufacturers do come up to Christmas. Yeah, and then release that actually. Yeah, I mean, these 2 economic aspects are a bit undercooked. And actually, you know what? If they had a good bit more meat to both of them, and we could do that, we could do what you just suggested. I actually think that might tick the final box to potentially make it a buyer for me. Because something like that really, really elegant economic manipulation of markets is something that I don't have in my collection either. I don't really think. I can't think of anything it does. So it would then fill a proud spot in my shelf, I think, if it did that.
Actually, the more I think about it, it'd make it a little bit heavier, but I don't think it would.
A bit heavier, potentially.
Potentially, but in terms of learning and accessibility, I don't think
accessibility. No, but it would make a much bigger gap between a good game, someone who's good at the game, and someone who's bad at the game. Someone who's not particularly good at the game.
It'd make a bigger skill gap. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And again, maybe that's not what you want. Having, I think, a very good, and I'm not sure if this is one or not. It might be, but having a game that's sort of, I mean, it's always very valuable to have a game that's good at equalizing player skill on the table, i.e. allowing new players to potentially compete with players who've played a lot, but that's also not just full on random crap.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's my final verdict, I think, really. Wish the economic aspect was deeper, but it's still really nice.
Michael?
I like these kind of games. I don't think it's something that it's definitely not put me off wanting to play it again. So I really like it, and I like how I do like the simplicity of how it's complicated but not too complicated. So I would give it a 7 as well.
When did we start doing ratings out of 10?
No, I was only following Chris because Chris gave it.
Up until this point, the rating is simply I would play it again or I wouldn't.
Nothing matters apart from ratings. Numbers.
No, I would play it again.
Yeah, I'd play it again.
I just think I would struggle to find, in my gaming group, I think I would struggle to find people who would want to play this.
I really think this is right in the middle because this is not a gateway, but I cannot. I mean, you never.
To coin I think it's a Dice Tower term. It feels a bit like Gateway +1, right?
I'd say +2.
So I think this is very reasonable. I mean, the thing is as well, like Terra Mystica and Gaia Project retail at like £60-70, whereas this is like 30.
What, really?
35 maybe. Yeah.
If this was 30, I might almost buy it.
It's
so reasonable.
I think we kickstarted. You kickstarted it. What was it? It was like £35.
I'm sure it was.
Is it available at retail now?
They were selling them at Essen.
Yeah.
Do you remember how? Does anyone know how much they were?
Quick,
because it
it
does matter.
It does matter. Well, and that's sort of what I was going for. Is like those other games. Like I don't think this replaces Terra Mystica in my collection, but I also think that if someone said to me, "I'm going to buy a game, which one should I get?" I would say, "How much do you want to spend?" Because I think this is easier to get to the table because it's easier to teach people.
Play it more often, yeah.
I actually think, funnily enough, I think the kind of people. I think this theme is actually more appealing than Terra Mystica, because I think the kind of people who would be really into the Terra Mystica theme are the kind of people that wouldn't be so hung up on, like, not playing a Scotland theme.
Are you
Do you know what I mean?
You think this is more appealing than fantasy? Really? Scotland?
Well, no, what I'm saying is, though, that you as, like, someone who's really into fantasy, it's kind of, that kind of geekery goes hand in hand with kind of just being into board games and stuff in general, and you might not necessarily dismiss a game just because you're not super excited about the theme. But the kind of people who are like, fantasy, really? Might be more into playing like a historical game.
Yeah.
I could probably sell...
I think historical is quite a generous term for this. It's a really, really niche part of history.
Well, yeah, sure. But okay, but I say, it's a historical...
It's when Scotland got slightly more industrial. You know what I mean? It's hard to...
But it happened. It's not about... It happened, and also it's not...
The theme is weak. I mean, it's a Euro after all. The theme is very weak.
But it's also about how you sell it, right? It's about how that enables you as the person convincing people to play to sell it. And I feel like this gives me more ammunition to convince the naysayers. I think the people who are excited about Terra Mystica are already... I don't think the fantasy theme of Terra Mystica is going to convince anyone that wouldn't already be excited.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Whereas this might be more... Yeah, okay, yeah, you make a fair point. I think I agree with that, yeah.
And, because it's cheaper, I think it's probably easier to get to the table for that reason. I think...
how much was it on Kickstarter?
I think, it was 32 or 35 pounds.
I'm sure it was 35.
I think it was 32 plus shipping.
This is probably
and it came out around 35.
It's probably 45 or so shops. Then you have to think.
Is there a retail price in the box?
Didn't see one.
Well, 55, 60.
Really?
60. That's super expensive. That's like not worth
Yeah,
it.
but you can't get it anywhere.
I got really excited at how cheap it may be, but now actually I'm deducting a point now.
Well, I will be
6 out of 10. That's far too expensive. For £10 you can have Terra Mystica. Well, I haven't played Terra Mystica, but for £10 you can have a fantasy theme. That's shocking. I mean, because it's
I'll have to double check.
You got it for a good price.
It might be.
Yeah.
Do you think it was expensive?
Have you checked?
Yeah, it's not on games.
It might have been as expensive as 40 though.
Well, I mean, even for 40, I think that's a fine price.
40 is not bad. If it was 40, I think that's actually good.
Yeah, I think if you can get Terra Mystica for 53, but Terra Mystica is really, it feels a lot more complex and not necessarily, I think probably about 50% of the extra complexity in Terra Mystica is good and 50% is maybe not so good.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah, like we were discussing earlier, I think there's these mechanics just a little too light.
Yeah. That's the key thing that would prevent me from making this a buy.
But again, I wonder if it would be more interesting if we'd all sort of started together and we were competing more for space and also for neighboring bonuses and stuff. But anyway, that's I think that's sort of. Now we're just repeating what we already said, so that might be sign-off time.
Let's go back to the start and say all of. We could use buy, don't buy, play, wouldn't play.
Well, currently
as a rating.
up until this point, I've literally just used. Would you play it again?
Would you? Well, I would add to that. Would you buy it to have in your own collection, or would you just play it? I would play it, but not buy it. You said you'd buy it.
Yeah.
Even if this was my copy, you'd now go and buy it.
But I mean, to contextualize it,
Yeah.
you and I have huge collections, and Michael has a very small collection.
That doesn't stop me. I've got 20 games coming from Kickstarter right now, and my shelf's already full. It does not stop me.
Well, I as you can see, from here they can't see, but my shelves are actually overflowing.
He's got board games in his fireplace.
I've got board games that are stacked up. I've got board games that are just under tables. But
90% of your collection is Dominion boxes.
Yeah, there is lots.
I love Dominion. I can't help it. It's just a wonderful puzzle. Okay.
So I mean, like, forget space, and like, let's say you had money in your pocket to buy a game. Would you buy this one?
Well, let me put it another way. I would be pleased to have it, but I don't think I'd go out my way to acquire it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's like, I mean, like, I'd equally be pleased to have it. So far as if I was given it as a gift, I'd be delighted.
Right.
So I think if I'm interpreting this correctly, I'm thinking you're saying it's it's a play, not a buy. I think it's very. You played again, right?
It's very difficult for me to divorce it from the concept of what you already own, because maybe I'm just not as big a collector as you. For me, it's more about having a sort of.
No, I don't think you are. I think I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of the collecting aspect as well.
Whereas for me, it's more about having a sort of a range of experiences, and I think between like sort of Isle of Skye, which is very light Euro, and Terra Mystica in my collection, I just don't know if I have a need for this one as well.
Yeah, but sure. That's it. Your reasoning for not buying it is different to mine, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, you're saying you play it but not buy it.
If I had it here, I'd be very interested to see whether I would get it out more or less than Terra Mystica and stuff.
You'd probably get out more.
Well, there have been... Yeah, exactly. I think there have been occasions where I've got out Terra Mystica and played it with a group and actually regretted it. Because 4 hours later, I can see that they haven't really enjoyed it.
Or have you ever
too
started unpacking a big game such as Terra Mystica and halfway through just setting up, you're like, oh.
Yeah, or halfway through explaining the rules and they're asking questions, still asking questions. I'm like, why did I put myself through this?
Yeah.
I think this one is... And actually, I think this would act as a great leading in point to more stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, this would be a great bridge to go, well, you've tried that, now try this. Mm-hmm. And then next time we can play Gaia Project or whatever. Sure. So yeah, a useful game to have in your collection, but not one necessarily that I feel the need to own. Yeah. But absolutely happy to play it. Absolutely happy to play it. I just wish there was a little bit more way to control this.
100% agree with that. Yeah.
Just like to be able to manipulate this. Be
Yeah.
sneaky about it.
Yeah, it'd be really helpful.
Good. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and coming on this Scottish adventure with us. Sorry I couldn't get any of the Scotsmen on this episode. But, you know...
I'm the next best thing.
we got Chris, and that's something. And we'll be back tomorrow for an entirely new adventure. I don't know where we'll be going yet. We've got tons of games from Essen and stuff to film, and Kickstarters arriving. I was saying that this is the Essen season because...
This is the big... Yeah, everything's arriving this time, isn't it?
Because they tried to produce them all to have them at Essen.
Yeah.
So it's like, and now all your Kickstarters are arriving. So we'll see whether we've got something interesting tomorrow, or maybe we'll dial it back and just play something classic. God knows there's a lot of stuff that I want to get on the channel.
You know, sometimes it's nice just to play a classic.
Well, you know, I've been trying to do the Glory to Rome Black Box special edition as well for ages. I haven't got around to filming that. I wanted to do Food Chain Magnate.
That's quite super heavy. I really want to play that.
heavy.
I don't think it's actually that bad.
Oh, really? I was told
think
that was like ball-breakingly heavy.
Yeah, people say that, but I'm not sure I agree.
I suppose ultimately how complicated can a board game really be?
Yeah, well, we you know, as a channel that never gets a single rule wrong, we can make that claim.
Yeah. I've never gotten wrong ever in any game ever.
Me either.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've rewritten rules on the fly.
House rules on the fly. That's how you excuse everything.
Cool. But thank you so much for coming on this journey with us, and we'll be back tomorrow for another journey. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Bye-bye.